Yo, what's going on? I appreciate everybody for tuning in on this makeup live stream because I didn't have a chance to do it yesterday. This is going to be a dope live stream. We're going to talk about a story that we did a short video on about a week ago. And this one, we're going to dive into the indictment. Now, there are three council members in Charleston, South Carolina, who are caught up on fraud, bribery, honest services fraud, wire fraud, you name it, it's all in there. We're going to focus on the indictment of one individual because this individual has essentially been identified as the the ringleader. I'm Marcus, and if you're new to the channel here, we do attorney reactions to current events and trending news as I give my take and thoughts on things and how they could or may potentially play out in court. If you get some value out of this content, hey, I know this is repetitive, but definitely hit the like button, share, subscribe. It's free and it's a great way to support the channel. All right, I don't want to dive and take too long. We're not even going to go into a video because we did that in a previous video. I'll show the link. But this is actually interesting though, because we're going to go through the indictment. But more importantly, hey, I appreciate it, Maddie. Thank you for tuning in as always. I appreciate you. I love you all. Hey, thank you as well. And shout out to my guy Harley with the first comment. I did see the article you sent me about the dogs in the zoo, which is that's crazy. That was absolutely insane. I appreciate you for hitting me up. And shout out to everybody who passed me some content that I made a video on or reacted to. I'm definitely appreciative of you all because you all are co-producers of the show. Hey, I've been in Charleston all the time. I have to take my dad to his VA appointments out there sometimes. So it happens. It happens to the best of us. I've done videos on terrible politicians from DC. So no one's immune from stupidity and greediness and corruption. So don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. All right, let's go ahead now. Like I said, we're going to look at the indictment, but this is even better because I actually pulled up the character letters that were sent on behalf of this particular defendant. I think they're kind of funny. We'll talk about that on the back end. Indictment is 31 pages. Y'all know we're going to skip around because the bandwidth is a little bit low tonight. I don't know how much time I got in me. I'm not trying to do a 2-hour show. So let's go ahead, jump into this indictment. But on the back end, we're going to look at the character letters that were sent on his behalf to the court in an effort to try to get this defendant leniency. I don't know if it was funny. I think it was, I don't know. Yeah, I think it was kind of funny. Let's go ahead and jump into this indictment. All right, every time I do an indictment, I gotta pull it up a little different. So give me 1 second so I can make sure I got this thing up correctly. We can close that out. See, when I pull up these indictments, it kind of jack things up a little bit. All right. Again, United States of America versus Jerome Sidney Hayward. We're focusing on this council member because he was the de facto ringleader of this scheme. Defendant is a resident of North Charleston, South Carolina, North Charleston municipality. From 2019 to 2024, North Charleston received over $10,000 in federal funds each fiscal year. In November of 2019, Jerome Hayward was elected to the North Charleston City Council representing District 5. At all times relevant, Hayward served as a member of the North Charleston City Council. The North Charleston City Council is the elected body with the power and authority to make rules, pass ordinance in North Charleston. The North Charleston City Council is comprised of an at-large mayor, 10 council members elected from a single-member district every 4 years. North Charleston City Council powers include exercise the corporate powers of the city of North Charleston, consider and enact legislation, set official city policy, hold public hearings, approve franchises, business licenses, levy taxes, adopt annual budget, and approve and disapprove requests for zoning. The Public Safety Committee is a committee of the North Charleston City Council comprised of All members of the city council, the public safety committee meets the third Thursday of every month during regularly scheduled city council meetings. As a member, Hayward and the other council members are public officials. In addition to serving as a North Charleston City Council member, Hayward worked as a consultant and owned consulting business, Hayward Consulting. Hayward manages and controls a bank account for Hayward Consulting titled J.S. Hayward Consulting LLC. Hayward corruptly used his position as a North Charleston City Council member to engage in three schemes outlined below to personally enrich himself through bribes, kickbacks, and extortion, and to deprive the citizens and the government of North Charleston of their intangible right to honest and faithful services of the North Charleston City Council. That's that honest services fraud we talked about some videos ago. In the first scheme below, Hayward extorted a businessman by soliciting payments in exchange for his official action as a city councilman. In his second scheme, Hayward accepted bribes from an individual working on behalf of a company with business in North Charleston in exchange for his official actions. And in the third scheme, Hayward embezzled funds belonging to the city by soliciting and accepting payments from nonprofit organizations that received grant from the city in exchange for his official actions. Where? Give me 1 second. I'm looking for something. Give me 1 second. All right, my bad. I had to set something up real quick because I can already tell I do all this reading is about to be interesting. All right. Background on Businessman One extortion scheme. Businessman One, known to the United States Attorney, owns property in North Charleston and regularly conduct business in the city. Let's see something. And regularly conducts business in the city. Businessman One has been advocating for changes in North Charleston that would benefit his private business operations. As such, Businessman One has interacted with North Charleston City Council and other city officials and employees regarding his properties and businesses. Businessman One prior efforts to effectuate change to benefit his business and properties have been unsuccessful. So Businessman One trying to get his company lined up just right, and he can't make it happen on his own. In October of 2023, Hayward approached Businessman One and requested Businessman One's financial support for his reelection campaign, as well as the campaign of four other candidates running for North Charleston City Council. Businessman One gave Jerome Sidney Hayward and the other four candidates lawful campaign donations. All right, so far so good. Thereafter, Hayward requested to meet Businessman One in person. During the meeting, Hayward expressed to Businessman One that he could consult and lobby for the changes Businessman One sought in North Charleston. After the meeting, Hayward's assistant emailed Businessman One a consulting agreement. The consulting agreement required Businessman One to pay Hayward a $10,000 fee up front and $7,500 monthly for 12 months in exchange for Hayward's lobbying and consulting services. In the consulting agreement, Hayward agreed to lobby and consult with various state and local government bodies on behalf of Business One, including the city of North Charleston. That don't even make sense. Like, I say this all the time. You can do business with the city and engage in lobbying, engage as a consultant, but just don't be a politician. Had he not been a politician, if he just was trying to do what's stated here, he would probably be completely fine and wouldn't have ended up in this nonsense where he got to get these ridiculous letters to show his character that we're going to read at the end. But consulting, they say if you can't make money by solving the problem, make money by prolonging it. That's the motto for consulting. But yeah, you can do all of these things. Had he not had the political ties, he probably would have been okay. All right. It says businessman one reported the interaction with Hayward to the FBI immediately. immediately, this dude. Immediately, this dude reported the interaction to the FBI. Businessman one agreed to cooperate with the investigation that followed. I've never read one of these complaints related to white collar crime where I read it and afterwards I was like, this guy actually has arguments. These things be gift wrapped so perfectly, even though it's just an indictment. We don't know what the other facts are. Well, we'll know when we get to the end, but they always wrapped up with a bow. Businessman one agreed to cooperate with the investigation that followed. Businessman one allowed the FBI to record telephone calls and in person meetings between Businessman one and Hayward and others, and to provide the FBI with all relevant documents and communications. Thereafter, Businessman one met Hayward to discuss the consulting agreement. During the meeting, Hayward claimed to have significant influence and control over other elected officials in North Charleston City Council. Hayward assured Businessman one that because of the control over other members of council, he would be able to achieve changes related to Businessman one's property and businesses to directly benefit Businessman one. Businessman one agreed to the $10,000 upfront fee, but negotiated the $7,500 monthly fee that Hayward originally requested to $5,000 per month. All right. On March 11th, 2024, using FBI funds, Businessman one paid. So they got audio, they got visual, they got money being exchanged, probably cash. If not cash, no, say it was a wire transfer. But yes, all bad things. All right. On March 11th, 2024, using FBI funds, Businessman one paid Hayward. I'm so used to talking about Tiffany Henyard. I'm throwing her in shit that she don't even belong in. He paid Hayward $15,000 via a wire transfer, consisting of the $10,000 upfront fee and the $5,000 monthly fee. That's one count of wire fraud right there. On April 5th, 2024, using FBI funds, Businessman one paid Hayward an additional $5,000 wire transfer. That is wire fraud count two. Thereafter, Hayward called North Charleston City employees and officials. Hayward arranged and attended numerous meetings with North Charleston City employees. During these calls and meetings, Hayward advocated on Businessman one's behalf and sought assistance from other city officials. Hayward pressured North City Charleston employees and officials to effectuate changes Businessman one sought, including the rezoning of Businessman one's property, the issuance of business licenses, and potential property swaps. Hayward never disclosed his personal financial interest, nor did he disclose that Businessman one was paying him in exchange for his official action. It was something up here that I wanted to point out real quick. Let me see. Where was it? It was the rezoning. The rezoning is something that you see quite often. Real quick, let's just talk about it. The rezoning is something that we see quite often. You'll have land zoned as A, and you can only build residential properties on this land. But somebody who's a developer, they want to put a strip mall right there. But a lot of times to get zoning, it's very difficult because one thing that could bar it is, let's say the rezoning for the strip mall is inconsistent with the other plots of land in the area, the city council probably won't pass it. So that's a common scheme that you see where council members are giving bribes to rezone land so a developer can use that land to make something more lucrative. A strip mall will probably make you more money than slapping 5 homes on there and selling them out as rental properties, because now you got businesses. If you want, you can lean on those businesses a little bit. So it is a common thing that we see quite often. Let me see. Let me check out the comments real quick. I haven't seen anything that tied him into this. So far, he appears the mayor appears to have clean hands. It doesn't make any sense to me either. It's actually really, really foolish. Yep. All wire transfers, each wire fraud charge could carry up to 20 years in prison. All right, count one: attempted extortion under color of official right and using fear of economic harm. He just leveraged, hey, you can get some economic harm if you don't capitulate, if you don't fold and do what I want you to do. That's all that is. United States Attorney realleges and incorporated by reference paragraph 1 through 16. From October 23rd to July 2024, in his capacity as North Charleston City Council, he did knowingly delay, obstruct, and affect commerce and the movements of commodities and commerce, and did attempt to obstruct, delay, blah, 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 blah. Essentially, what that means is, long story short, they're taking all the facts that we read in the earlier account and saying that he utilized economic leverage to try to get persons to bend to whatever it was that he needed in order to effectuate his fraudulent scheme. Honest services and wire fraud, we talked about this one before. Honest services fraud is only given to politicians, generally, or elected or appointed officials, because they have a fiduciary duty to act in the best interest of their constituents. So it's pretty much still a fraud. It's just honest services fraud because it's an elected official. They have a higher duty of care, presumably, to act in the best interest of their constituents. The wire fraud is what we talked about, the transfers from the account. Every transfer, every text message, every phone call could be charged as a separate instance of wire fraud. Each carries up to 20 years in prison. All right, let's read this one right quick because there's a little bit more substance. Beginning in October 23, continuing to May of 2024, the manner and means by which Hayward carried out the scheme included but were not limited to the following. Hayward, believing that he had reached a corrupt agreement with Businessman One, corruptly accepted money from Businessman One in exchange for his official action as a city council, including advocating on Business One's behalf and pressuring North Charleston City of employees to act in Businessman One's behalf. In exchange, again, and here's the money we talked about. Hayward corruptly solicited and accepted $20,000 from Businessman One, concealed his activity and relationship with Businessman One. Hayward shared false information to explain his involvement with Businessman One and failed to disclose his direct financial interest, or he solicited and accepted payments from Businessman One. And normally, when you have these jobs that have a fiduciary duty, let's say I was an attorney and I did estates and wills, and you came to me to draft a will or do a trust for your family. And I said, hey, we also offer funeral service. Can I interest you in those? I would actually have to disclose that, hey, I'm the owner of this funeral home. I'm making money from it. I would actually have to disclose all of that to you, because if I don't disclose it, it could create an inherent conflict between my legal services and the business services that I'm offering. That same concept applies here with his actual duties as a council member and what he's trying to do in his consulting business. All right, on or about each of the dates set forth below, Hayward, for the purpose of executing the above described scheme to defraud and deprive, knowingly transmitted and caused to be transmitted by means of wire communication in interstate commerce the writing, signs, signals, pictures, and sounds described below. And this is what I talked about. Each wire transfer would count as a count. Wire transfer one from Businessman One to Hayward was count two. Wire transfer two that occurred in April was another count, and it went to the same account associated with his business that the facts stated were controlled by Hayward. All right, now we're going to go into the background on Company A's bribery scheme. Mike Brown, charged elsewhere, is a resident of North Charleston, South Carolina. In 2015, Mike Brown was elected to North Charleston City Council representing District 1. He was reelected to his seat in 2019 and 2023. At all times during the relevant Facts, he has been a city council member. In addition to his position as North Charleston City Council member, Mike Brown co owned the Blue Note Bistro, a lounge in North Charleston. That's actually a good name. In March of 2024, the Blue Note Bistro ceased operation. Sandino Moses, charged elsewhere, is a resident of North Charleston, South Carolina. He was also elected as a city council member representing District 4. Company A, known to the U.S. Attorney's Office, is a boat manufacturing company located in Berkeley, South Carolina. Company A is owned by businessman 2, known to the U.S. Attorney. In 2003, the Charleston County Parks and Recreation Commission accepted a proposal from Company A to grant a 9-year lease on attractive land in North Charleston. Hereinafter, we'll refer to as the property. The lease would allow Company A to build a boat manufacturing facility, clean up and remediate the property, and pay for the 46-acre public park. April of 2023, the North Charleston City Council, which had jurisdiction over the property, again, rezoned the site from general business and light industrial to single-family residential property, putting Company A's plan on hold. So Company A is pissed. They can't build their manufacturing plant. Now has been rezoned to put homes there. In February of 2024, this is just a year ago, on behalf of Company A, as a technical owner, as a technical owner of the property, requested that the city of North Charleston rezone the property to enable Company A to build their boat manufacturing plant. Anticipating strong community opposition to the proposed rezoning, Company A hired lobbyists and consultants to promote the project and assist their efforts in rezoning the property. Company A engaged Aaron Hicks. Hicks is also charged, and Hanson Torrey Fields. Fields is also charged elsewhere in February 2024. Hicks and Fields were both paid by Company A. Company A agreed to pay Fields $30,000. I need to become a consultant. Agreed to pay Fields $30,000 upfront and $5,000 per month. Company A agreed to pay Hicks $10,000 for March and $10,000 for April. The latter agreed to pay Hicks $5,000 per month for May and June. The rezoning application was scheduled to come before the North Charleston City Council Public Safety Commission for the first reading in April of 2024 during a regularly scheduled meeting. All 11 council members sit on the Public Safety Committee. Thus, the Public Safety Committee meetings are, for all intents and purposes, full city council meetings. Prior to the April 18th vote, it was unclear whether the rezoning proposal would pass. In and around early 2024, Hicks agreed to pay Hayward and Mike Brown in exchange for their influence on North Charleston City Council and support of the rezoning application. It was part of an agreement that Aaron Hicks would pay Hayward and Mike Brown kickbacks from a portion of the consulting fees he received from Company A. Okay, so now we got, just so we can track what's going on. All right, Hicks is getting money from Company A because Company A wants this land to be rezoned from residential back to commercial so they can build their boat facility, repair facility on the property. Hicks, who is engaged in this consulting, reached out to Hayward and Brown, who are both city council members, and said, yo, I'm going to pay y'all for y'all influence on the city council. So Company A is paying Hicks. Hicks reaches out to the council members, Hayward and Brown, and decides to pay them a portion of his consulting fee that he got from Company A. On April 16, 2024, the FBI received, oh man, it's getting juicy. The FBI received court authorization to intercept wire and electronic communications occurring over Hayward's cellular telephone. And they all talk on their cell phone. On April 17th, the FBI began intercepting Hayward's communications. The FBI conducted a 2-day period, two 30-day periods. Hold on real quick. The FBI conducted two 30-day periods of interceptions from April 17th to May 16th, and from June 6th to July 5th. This dude closed my door again. Yo, leave the door open. Put the headset on or something. All right. All right. So the FBI conducted two 30-day periods of interception from April 17th to May 16th of 2024 and from June to July of 2024. On April 17th, Hayward and Mike Brown discussed Company A's proposal and expressed concern that they did not have enough votes to secure uh, to advance the zoning application submitted on behalf of Company A. Mike Brown called Hayward and asked if he had spoken with Company A's employee. Mike Brown then expressed frustration that Company A had not yet paid Hicks, indicating that he had hoped to receive money from Hicks to help his son with wedding expenses. Oh, isn't he a good dad? Isn't the bride's father supposed to pay for that? I don't know. All right, I thought that was tradition. I don't know tradition. I never seen it happen, but that's neither here nor there. All right. In reference to the money he expected to receive from Hicks, money belonged to companies A. Mike Brown stated, "Shit, this free money." Mike Brown told Hayward to call Company A. He wanted his free money. I need all my free ends. Mike Brown told Hayward to call Company A's employee and encourage them to pay Hicks, and Hayward agreed to do so. He wanted his kickback. On or about April 18th from 2024 at 11:31 a.m., Hayward received a call from Hicks. Hicks expressed frustration with Company A and their failure to pay him the second half of his $10,000 consulting fee for the month of April. Hicks stated, "I've been trying to get that squared away before the vote happens tonight." Hayward and Hicks then discussed Hayward's previous call with Mike Brown. And Mike Brown's need for the money to help with his son's wedding expenses. Hicks agreed to try to get the money from Company A in advance of the vote. All right, on or about April 18th, 2024 at 4:25 p.m., an hour before the public safety meeting during which the city council was scheduled to vote on the zoning application on behalf of Company A, Hicks calls Hayward. During the call, Hicks told Hayward, "I was calling you earlier before I go into work. I wanted to let you know I got your money." Hicks then told Hayward that he wanted to meet before they entered the North Charleston City Hall. "I ain't want nobody to see me talking once you got, I ain't want nobody to see me talking once you had got here." Prior to the Public Safety Committee meeting, Hicks paid Hayward $2,500 and Mike Brown at least $1,000 in cash. During April 18th Public Safety Commission meeting, council members made a motion to delay the vote by 30 days, and another council member seconded the motion. So right now, they just stalling. They realize they don't have enough votes, but Hicks has gotten this consultant fee. Hayward and Brown has got these kickbacks, and they don't got the votes to be able to get the land rezoned. North Charleston City Council was scheduled to vote on the rezoning application during the May 16th Public Safety Commission meeting. On the 15th, Hayward called a fellow council member while Hicks surreptitiously listened secretly to the conversation. During the call, Hayward pressured a fellow council member to vote in favor of approving the application to rezone the property. In the hours leading up to the city council vote on rezoning application, Hicks, Mike Brown, and Hayward expressed concerns about whether they had sufficient support in favor of the rezoning application. They nothing got to be worse than paying somebody to do something illegal for you, and they don't even got the juice to get it done. In every case, most cases that we go through, actually, I think every case that we went through where there was some bribe, the politician never is able to facilitate the actual ask by the person paying the bribe. All right. However, they both wanted to continue to advance the construction of the boat manufacturing plant for their own personal enrichment. Hayward suggested that they look for alternative locations to construct the plant. Hicks then said, "Let me ask you this, Jerome. This is how we eat on the backside in my mind. If we, if we either pull that off and I keep that deal with Company A, like I work out. He keeps me on board, and then I set my price, and we can continue to eat, right? So we need to just milk Company A so we can get these kickbacks. On May 16th, 2024, the rezoning application was withdrawn on behalf of was withdrawn prior to the Public Safety Committee's meeting because they learned that they did not have the necessary support on the City Council to approve the application. On June 5th, Hicks accepted a $5,000 check from Company A. Now, that goes to count 4, conspiracy to commit bribery with respect to programs receiving federal funds and honest services fraud. We talked about this before. This just denotes the exact same scheme from the facts that we read. What was the bribe? The bribe was trying to grease the palms of the politicians to get the votes, and they really didn't have the juice because they couldn't even get enough. They couldn't even get, is what, 11 people in the city council, and I haven't heard anything about them even being able to secure one additional vote outside of the people who are getting kickbacks from Hicks. All right, bribery kickbacks concerning programs receiving federal funds. All right, this is all the same facts that we already read. Honest services fraud, we already talked about. All right, purpose of the conspiracy. It was the purpose of the conspiracy for Hayward, Mike Brown, and Hicks to enrich themselves by exploiting Hayward's and Mike Brown's official position as North Charleston City Council to obtain bribes and kickbacks from Hicks in exchange for their influence on the City Council. It was further proposed in the conspiracy that Hicks successfully lobby and consult on behalf of Company A for the rezoning, blah, blah, blah. We already talked about manners and means of conspiracy. We already went through the facts of that. Most of these are just reiterating pertinent facts to establish that they have the facts needed to satisfy the criminal count that they're charging them with. Now, this is a good one right here. We're going to read this because we always talk about conspiracy. In order for there to be a conspiracy, it has to be 2 or more persons, and there has to be a substantial act in the furtherance of committing the scheme. So I do want to read this because they talk about the overt acts in the furtherance of the scheme. We can kind of talk about a scheme like, man, we should rob a bank on some, on some set it off type stuff. You know what I mean? But if we just talk about it and never do anything, there was no overt act in the furtherance of that conspiracy. But if I go buy a bunch of Richard Nixon masks and some Santa Claus outfits, and I go strap everybody up and give everybody some hammers, now I've taken the overt act to satisfy that conspiracy. More than one person, overt act in the furtherance of the crime. So let's read what the overt act in the furtherance of the conspiracy was. And we can see it right here. We're just going to go ahead and skip down to where they have it identified in paragraphs 58 through 62. One, February 26th, where he received the $10,000 from Company A. Another, when he received $5,000 from Company A. Another one on April 17th, with Mike Brown told Hayward to call Company A's employee to pressure and encourage them to pay Hicks. Now, notice that is very important because if we look at all the other ones, what we see mostly is the transfer of money. The transfer of money denotes an overt act because it's me receiving a bribe. But 60 is interesting because there was no money transfer. The overt act in the furtherance was just a phone call saying, yo, call those guys and tell them to pay me by bribes. So that overt act doesn't necessarily need to be in the accumulation of or the acquiring of something to carry out the scheme. In that hypothetical I gave, let's say that I gave a hypothetical where I said I bought the Richard Nixon mask and Santa Claus outfits. But let's say I called up, I didn't do any of that, but I did call up my guy who worked at the city and I said, hey, can you give me the blueprints to the bank over on 13th Street? That in and of itself would be enough for the overt act because I actually made a phone call to move something in the furtherance to further the scheme along. So it doesn't always have to be a money transfer. It doesn't have to be purchasing guns. It could be a phone call to do something or to acquire something as well. We also got another call to Sandino to pressure him about the voting or rezoning application. And then we got another count of money. Count 6, honest services and wire fraud. We already covered that. Let's see. Do we want to go through this? Okay, background on the nonprofit scheme. This is a little bit different. So this is interesting. Yeah, I want to talk about this one because we see this all the time. We saw this when we were talking about the DC council member Trayon White, who took a bribe. Violence intervention is a good thing, but people take advantage of it and exploit it. And we see this coming up time and time again. All right, background on the nonprofit scheme. In April of 2022, North Charleston, began discussing whether to distribute funds to nonprofits in an effort to reduce violent crime. Hereinafter, Violent Reduction Grant. The city assembled a group to solicit applications from nonprofits and then decide which groups would ultimately receive funds. Developing, educating, and empowering people, South Carolina Inc. Deep SC is a nonprofit organization that was formed under South Carolina law in January of 2021. Michelle Stent Hilton, hereinafter Stent Hilton, charged elsewhere, is a registered agent of Deep SC from before the formation of Deep SC, although the date in this information, Stent Hilton served as Hayward's personal assistant. There's the finesse right there. We got Hayward, the city councilman. We got a proposal out there to get bids from nonprofits to do crime reduction in the city. He gets a company that appears to be ran, and all the paperwork and the foundation and creating articles of that company is Hayward's personal assistant. It didn't take long to get to it. Donovan Moten, charged elsewhere, is a resident. Now, all these other persons are non-public officials. Charged elsewhere is a resident of North Charleston, South Carolina. Core for Success Foundation is a nonprofit that was formed under South Carolina law in August of 2018. Moten is the founder and registered agent. Rose Lorenzo, also charged elsewhere. She operates a business service firm doing business as Lorenzo Financial Services. Let's see. She provides bookkeeping, tax preparation, and business advisory services to clients. With support and encouragement from Hayward, Deep SC and Core for Success applied for the Violence Reduction Grant funds from the city of North Charleston. In exchange for his support of their application, Stent Hilton and Moten agreed to pay Hayward, 20% of any monies the nonprofit receives. Now, that's the first smart thing that he actually did. When you get percentage of government grants, at least you're talking about some big dollars. Not saying crime is smart, but he's thinking a little bit bigger on a bigger scale here. Lorenzo agreed to allow Hayward, Stent, and Moten to launder money through Lorenzo's financial business checking account to conceal the source of and destination of funds. Now that's interesting. I wonder, did they talk about the money laundering? Because most people, as we talked about with the Jackson, Mississippi DA, they don't know what money laundering is, which is crazy because he was an attorney. But okay, conspiracy to commit bribery with regard to the program receiving federal funds. We know what that is. Getting kickback in exchange for supporting your application to get this grant, to get this money from the government for gang reduction services. Let's see. Purposes of the conspiracy, clearly to enrich himself, means and manner. They applied. Let me see. I'm looking real quick. Okay, real quick. Let's read this paragraph right here. All right, so we know what Deep SC and Core for Success are doing. We got Hayward told them to apply to get this grant for the government, and I'll push your applications through if you all give me 20% of what you get from the government. And then Lorenzo is going to filter all the money through and launder it through their financial services business. So on November 15th, 2022, North Charleston's Finance Committee convened to consider 9 items on the agenda including recommendations to award money to nonprofits as part of its initiative to reduce gun violence in the community. Hayward, a member of the Finance Committee Hayward is a member of the Finance Committee and participated in the consideration of the proposal. Hayward voted in favor of recommending to council that the city award the funds to nonprofits, including Deep SC and Core for Success. Hayward did not disclose his corrupt agreement with Stent Hilton and Moulton when the matter was presented before the Finance Committee to put to a vote. On December of 2022, the City Council convened a meeting to consider the agenda, including proposal and ordinance to award the reduction grant. Hayward was present during the meeting, and without disclosing his personal interest in the corrupt agreement he had with Stent Hilton and Moulton, he voted in favor of awarding the grant to the nonprofits Deep SC and Core for Success. All right, here's where we talk about money. On December 15th, 2022, the city of North Charleston issued checks totaling $10,000 each to Deep SC and Core for Success. Hayward directed Stent Hilton and Moulton to remit a kickback through Lorenzo for purposes of concealing the payment. So, in the other things we read, the other facts, he would get 10,000 here. Somebody else would get a fee. He would get a percentage of that fee. He asked for 20%. So each person, Deep SC and Core for Success, each got $100,000. So he's going to get $20,000 from Deep SC, $20,000 from Core for Success. So he was looking at getting $40,000. Now, I don't know what, and they may explain what Lorenzo's fee is to launder the money. Nobody's going to launder your money for free. But now he's looking at getting $40,000 minus whatever fee that Hayward has to pay to Lorenzo to launder the money. On December 19th, Stent Hilton deposited $100,000 from City of North Charleston into Deep SC's checking account. On December of 2022, Stent Hilton withdrew $25,000 from Deep SC's checking account. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Stent Hilton withdrew $25,000 from Deep SC's checking account and then obtained a cashier's check for $20,000 made payable to Lorenzo Financial. On December 22nd, the $20,000 cashier's check from Deep SC was deposited into Lorenzo's Financial business checking account. This is so stupid. On December 23rd, 2022, Core for Success through Moulton obtained a cashier's check for $20,000 made payable to Lorenzo Financial. That same day, the check was deposited into Lorenzo's Financial's business checking account. On December 27th, Lorenzo Financial wired $40,000 to Hayward checking account. The $40,000 kickback represented the sum of the monies Lorenzo Financial received from Deep SC and Core for Success. I don't see what was paid. Hold on, I'm looking real quick. The overacts. Okay, I'm interested, and we'll talk through this real quick. Let me go ahead and check out some of the comments. I'm interested in what I would have liked to see in that indictment was the method. I'm assuming they didn't just give the money to Lorenzo for shits and giggles. So I'm assuming that Lorenzo probably gave if they were trying to be smart, Lorenzo would have provided some invoice to Deep SC and Core for Success for some type of financial services to make it appear as if Lorenzo was doing the books for Deep SC or Core for Success. Or Lorenzo could actually do the books for them, and this is a way to filter it through. But they didn't describe that expressly in the documents. Yeah, wire fraud is no joke. Interesting. Hey, hey, it happens in all of the communities, so don't feel bad. All right, let's go ahead and jump back in this because I want to get to the letters that was wrote on his behalf to show that he has good characters. It's nothing new, but I do find it funny. Let me go ahead and get this. Let's go ahead and get through this so we can get to the good stuff. All right, overt acts in the furtherance of this conspiracy. We know what it was. It was getting the cashier's check. We know what the overt acts were. We talked about that in the previous facts. Theft, we know what that was. The theft was the funds that Call for Success and Deep SC received were government funds. So it was theft of government funds. Bribery, they got they solicited bribes from Call from Success and Deep SC. Let's see. Count two, honest services and wire fraud. We talked about that. The wire fraud was all of the electronic transactions to include the deposits and any phone conversations. All right, money laundering. Now let me skim through because I didn't read this. This is the first time I'm reading it with you all. I want to see if they provide any details about the nature of the laundering because most people don't do it right or try to do it right. I'm not saying I'm giving a money laundering course here. All right, let's see. I'm just skimming through. Mm, and that the defendant calls the funds. Nope. 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 Now, what we got here, forfeiture, essentially, whatever money you got, Hayward, the government is trying to put a pause on it because they want to do what they can to recoup the ill-gotten gains and everything that you purchased with those ill-gotten gains. Even if it was a nice wedding gift that someone tried to get for their that you tried to get for your friend's son. Cash proceeds, all sum of money is equal to all proceeds that the defendant obtained directly or indirectly from offenses charged in this information, and all interest and proceeds traceable thereto. So, all money. Substitute assets, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and close that out. Let me see because I want to make sure. All right, now real quick, let's talk about this real quick. There has since been, hey, what's going on? I appreciate you for tuning in, Harley. I appreciate the article too. It was actually interesting and crazy and kind of sad too. Poor zoo animals. It's all good. No worries, brother. Now, anytime someone is enters a guilty plea, it doesn't happen all the time if they're found guilty at trial, but every time I've entered a guilty plea as a defense attorney on behalf of a client, we always want to do things to bolster the character of the client because we're trying to persuade the judge. When you're charged with a crime, there's a chart. Most attorneys keep it on a sheet of paper, and there's a sentencing chart. And your sentence depends on what you're charged with and what your prior criminal record is. So if I have 5 prior convictions and you have no prior convictions, we both can be charged and plead guilty to the same offense. But because of my prior record, I fall higher on the sentencing guidelines, so I can get much more time than you can get. So they look at what your prior record was, what you're charged with, and depending on where you fall on that chart, that what determines the length of your sentence. So when you enter a guilty plea, you're going to present as much evidence as possible because you're like, Judge, we're asking you to consider this as mitigated factors, and you want the court to just kind of beg. Now, typically, this is where it gets funny. For let's refer to them as hood crimes. Hood crimes, guns, drugs, robbery. You see all these letters, they come in, they be like your grandma write a letter, your aunt write a letter, your nephew on your third side, 2 cousins removed writes a letter. Because once you have a well, let me back up. Those letters typically come from family members when you're talking about street level crimes because a lot of persons who commit those type of crimes don't have substantial ties to a community. They aren't out doing at the food bank every other Sunday serving soup to homeless people. They aren't doing that. So most times you're gonna see family members and you're gonna see like church pastors. Pastors be like, oh, he been a member of this church since he was a kid. Ain't give one offering or nothing, but that's what you're gonna see most times. So you would like to think, hmm, if I've represented someone who did a multi-million-dollar Ponzi scheme, and you would like to think like, maybe a politician, he has ties to community organizations. He'll be able to get character letters to talk about what he's done in the community, even though he pled guilty to this goofy shit. He did some good things. So let's take a look at the character letters that this councilman was able to receive. And y'all let me know. Y'all think they're going to be from civic organizations? Y'all think they're going to be from his cousin Pookie, his ex-girlfriend? It's going to be interesting, but we're going to read a few of these letters because I thought they were funny. Let's go and do it like that so y'all can see all of the letter on the screen. But let's take a look. All right, this first letter. Honorable Judge Richard Jarrell. Judge Jarrell. My name, Jarrell, that's how it's pronounced. Judge Jarrell, my name is Josephine Matthews, the aunt of Jerome Hayward. All the shit, this dude been elected. You saw how many years this dude's been elected? He got the letters saying, Judge, take it easy on this poor son of a, you know what, from his from the same people who Pookie, Ray, Craig, and Earl and them get. You know why? Because once you're a politician, if you're someone with a high standing in the community and you plead guilty to some goofy stuff, I don't care what you did in the community. Ain't nobody writing the letter on behalf of your ass. I don't care. You could have saved homeless children and got them to reach levels where they went to the best higher education institutions in the United States. They ain't about to write no letter for your criminal ass at this point. So, hey, the city council member is relegated to get letters from his aunt. Let's see what Auntie has to say about him. All right, I'm writing this letter on behalf. I'm the aunt of Jerome Hayward. I'm writing to respectfully ask you for your mercy and leniency in the sentencing of Jerome Hayward. In addition to being a defendant before your court, I would not call him a defendant. If you're writing a letter on behalf of somebody, never, as a defense attorney, I never referred to my client as a defendant. Your Honor, the defendant would like to plead. No, this is my client, Mr. Like, no, you never refer to as defendant. All right. In addition to being a defendant before your court, he is also a beloved son, a devoted father, and a valued member of our family. I've seen this same letter apply to people who were hitmen for criminal gang organizations. I've seen this same letter applied to people who ran cults with multiple wives and they convinced those wives to do atrocities. Auntie came through, but these letters are not impressive. But this is about what you get if you plead guilty to a crime. I don't care, white collar, blue collar, orange collar, plaid collar. All right. He's a beloved son, devoted father, and a valued member of our family. Jerome made a series of bad decisions he deeply regrets, and he has taken full responsibility of his actions. His remorse is sincere, and he is determined to make amends in any way possible. Beyond the impact of this case, this situation weighs heavily on our entire family, especially his mother and my sister. Richard Hayward, Judge Jarrell, my sister will be 85 in May if the Lord spares her life. Since we became aware of the charges against Jerome, the impact is sad, but the impact of this having right. Hey, real quick, let me show y'all. I'm gonna get through this letter, but I want to show y'all. I'm gonna give y'all my ruling. Y'all see the official DFD council when we going through these. I'm gonna give y'all the official ruling on what I think about this letter, if you can't already tell. But before I get into it, let's go ahead and get through this letter, and then we're gonna look at one more letter. We probably won't read that letter, but we'll take a look at one more letter. All right. I'm skipping around a little bit. For the past 4 years, she has been suffering from 2 leaky heart valves, causing her to become weaker and weaker. His father also suffered from early onset. His father also suffers from early onset dementia and has had heart surgery. An extended sentence could have devastating effects on their well-being, especially his mother's. Jerome is an essential pillar of our family, and his absence will not only bring emotional hardship, but also a great burden on his elderly parents who rely on him. I fully understand that he must face consequences for his actions, and Jerome understands that as well. I humbly ask you to consider an alternative sentence such as probation or home confinement so that he can continue to provide for his family and contribute to society. This experience has been profound wake up call for him. He has turned back to his faith, praying daily and seeking redemption. Everybody asks for redemption when you caught up in some goofy shit. I'm not trying to laugh, but hey, I would do the same thing. If y'all ever hear DC DFD getting caught up in some fraud stuff, y'all gonna see me at the church and everything. That's just what it is. I'm telling y'all right now. I truly believe that this moment of hardship will ultimately lead him to a path of righteousness and renewed commitment, which is possible. We all love a good redemption story. I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm just saying that the aunt, the church, all of this is par for the course. Your Honor, I know that justice must be served. I also know that mercy and rehabilitation are vital aspects of that justice. Please consider the negative impact of a lengthy sentence, not just on him, but on his mother and father, his children and family. We love him, we stand by him, and we are committed to helping him become the best version of himself. Thank you for your time, consideration, and compassion, Judge Jarrell. May God bless you in your role administering justice with wisdom and fairness. That was a good touch. I'm going to guess, this is just my guess. Again, this is all open source. That's how I got it. I'm guessing that somebody wrote that for her and she signed it. That's just, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm not saying that, hey, I'm sure Miss Josephine Matthews is a beautiful person, but normally that's how it's done. Hey, we'll write you, sign this, auntie. Just sign it. Don't worry about what it says. Just sign it. So let's take a look at one more. So he got an aunt. This man has been in office for years. He has done some good things, even though he has some bad things. We can't say he hasn't done some good things in his career. I'm sure he has. Let's see where letter number 2 is from. All right, Nicole M. Barron, March 4th. Judge Richard Jarrell. Dear Judge Jarrell, I'm writing to you regarding the sentence of Jerome Hayward, who has been convicted of several charges. I ask you for your consideration of granting probation as part of his sentencing in lieu of a more severe punishment. Now let's scroll down and see who is she to him. Let's see. It's in here. It's in here. I know it's in here. Let me see. Probation. Hayward deeply regrets their actions and acknowledges consequences of the behavior. Since the incident, they have taken full responsibility, have demonstrated a sincere commitment to making amends. Hayward has mentioned any rehabilitation services, such as attending counseling, completing community services, enrolling in educational programs, or making restitution. Since this has all happened, his mental state is not good. Yeah, that's what prison will do to you. Your mental state will be out of whack. I know what he did was wrong and he wasn't raised like that. He consistently apologizes to the family for what he has done and asks us for forgiveness. It is my belief that probation would allow him the opportunity to continue work. He has expressed genuine desire to reintegrate as a productive member of society, even if he is confined to his home. He is a really good guy, would help anyone in need. Consider probation as a way to provide Jerome with the opportunity to learn from the mistakes. Mr. Hayward's cousin. All right, so he got something from his aunt and his cousin. There were actually more letters out there. He got a letter from his aunt and his cousin. I wanted to read those because I just wanted to show y'all that all the organizations that this dude probably helped and all the good he did from the community don't mean a damn thing once you got those federal charges. The only people who are going to write something on behalf of for you is probably going to be your aunt, your uncle, your meemaw, your peepaw, peepew, whatever you want to call your grandparents, your church, your pastor. They might write something. I've seen it 1,000 times. I've never seen a professional or someone who's a high functioning person who's committing white collar crimes get any letter from any that he's probably done good for multiple organizations and they were all like, nah, you know what, we didn't writing shit for you, you need to go ask your aunt and your uncle, and that's what you get. So like I said in the beginning, a lot of these cases where the indictments are done against political officials, they have audio, video footage, wire transfers. They wrap everything up in a bow. He's already entered a plea. Now they're just begging for some type of leniency in sentencing. If I were a judge, would I give the sentencing? No, 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 no. I can't give you sentencing. Fraud and public corruption is one of the most egregious crimes because you are leveraging the money of the people and not doing what's in the best interest of the people. So if it were unilaterally up to me, I look at public corruption is one of the worst crimes that could be committed, and it happens so frequently from black, brown, blue, plaid, all aspects. We see it all the time. The San Francisco mayor, Shang Tao, like it just happens all across the board, no matter your race, nationality, and being lenient isn't going to ever get the point across. Being hard probably isn't going to get the point across, but damn sure being lenient won't get the point across. Yo, that's it for this video. You all let me know what you think in the comments. Would you all go lenient on this council member in light of what his auntie and his cousin had to say about how he's refound the Lord and he's going to reintegrate himself into society? Not saying that's not possible. Or are you along the lines of how I'm feeling? I'm like, nah, bro. You were smart enough to know better. You've been doing this long enough to know better. And because of that experience, boom, boom, boom. Go ahead to wherever you need to go. We'll holler you on the backside. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. And as always, if you enjoyed this content, make sure you check out whatever's going to pop up on the screen. Is going to be more content related to attorney reactions. And hey, I'm going to give y'all a real round of applause today for everybody who tuned into this live stream. On Friday, we're going to cover the record CEO who just got turned himself in on racketeer charges. Big U, that's going to be an actual interesting one that someone sent me. He was a music mogul. He had actually community activists speaking out on his behalf, but he was a shot caller in the Rolling 60 Crips, and now he's in federal custody. We're going to talk about that Friday. Y'all take care, be blessed, be safe. Peace.